So, what happens financially to the people who unfortunately lost their homes in the recent Los Angeles wildfires? Do they still have to pay their property tax? Do they still have to pay their mortgage? Those are big, big monthly expenses for people in California. So, let's jump in. I found a great article on US News and World Reports. It's called "If Your House Burned Down in the LA Wildfires, Do You Still Have to Pay Your Mortgage?" And it also talks about property tax. Let's start with mortgage. And the article starts, even if your house has been destroyed, you still owe the remaining balance on your mortgage. A lender lent somebody money to buy a home, and unfortunately the home burned down, but that's debt between the homeowner and the bank. So is there some relief on this? What can these people expect to help minimize that burden? Let's keep going. The article first states, even if you had mortgage insurance, this will not cover the payment obligations for you. The mortgage insurance is designed to protect the mortgage lender, not the borrower. So the question is, can those people get disaster relief from their mortgage payments? And the most likely form of mortgage payments, relief from mortgage payments, is disaster mortgage forbearance. And what forbearance is it's simply a temporary suspension of your mortgage payments. Disaster forbearance is not automatic. So people that are watching, if you need to get this, you need to contact your mortgage service provider to discuss your options if you're having difficulty affording your mortgage. So what about FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency? Well, according to that agency's website, assistance from the agency for homeowners, unfortunately, is limited to home and personal property repair and rental assistance for temporary housing. It does not assist with mortgage or rent payments if you stay in your damaged home. So what FEMA covers is they cover rental assistance, things like funds to cover rental housing when you're displaced from your home. It covers lodging expense assistance and reimbursement for emergency lodging expenses caused by a disaster. It covers a temporary housing unit if other accommodations are not available, and it helps with home repair or replacement to help with the uninsured cost. Okay, so that's the mortgage, and unfortunately, as you can see, I do not have good news in that regard. The best thing that people in that situation can do is to call their mortgage service provider, explain the situation, and find out what their options are. What about property tax? That's something that the state of California could help people with. And are they likely going to help people with? So this section of the article is called, "Do I Still Owe Property Tax If My House is Destroyed?" And they're very candid. The short answer is yes. However, a natural disaster is likely to affect how much tax you owe and when you must pay it. So what property tax relief is available? And in this, it shares with us that a reassessment would probably involve only the house and other structures, not the value of the land on which it's situated. Even if your house has been destroyed, those people still may be assessed a significant amount of property tax, particularly in California, where the property values are so high, even though people lost their homes. For many people, the majority of the value is not necessarily in the structure; it's in the value of that land. Now, I think that the value of that land, and this is not my profession, real estate, but when you're living in a neighborhood that's been burnt down, I think the value of that land has gone down, and probably significantly, because the first person to build in that neighborhood a new home is going to be surrounded by a lot of construction for a long time, and they're going to be surrounded by all of that disaster recovery that's taking place. If you were just moving, let's say, from the Midwest to California, would you move into a neighborhood that just suffered that wildfires, or would you move somewhere else? Plus, I think people are worried about, well, if it happened this year, what keeps it from happening a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Unfortunately, one of the short answers, the building codes have improved, so that helps out, and hopefully there's some learnings that come from all of this. Okay, so the U.S. News and World Report article goes on to say, what should you do if you can't pay your property tax because of a disaster? And the process is going to depend on the state, and it's going to depend on the county. Now, here we're specifically talking about the LA wildfires. And in Los Angeles, for example, a homeowner seeking disaster-based property tax relief, they must file an application for reassessment of property damaged or destroyed by misfortune or calamity claim. So the best thing to do is to reach out and reach out to the state and talk to them. This article lists this one claim, but definitely reach out. There may be new things that have come out as a result of these Los Angeles fires. But what can we all take away, whether we live in Los Angeles, whether we live in California, whether we live in Florida, where there's also a lot of natural disasters, or you live in the Midwest? I grew up in Ohio. What can people in Ohio take away? I think one of the important things is really looking at your insurance policy and understanding what's included. And really, yes, your insurance broker can go through this with you, but I like to have somebody that's a fiduciary to me 100% of the time. So I might encourage people to invest a little bit of money and to reach out to an attorney and say, okay, this is what my insurance is. Make sure that I understand what's available to me. For instance, I saw a YouTube video where somebody had a second home that had been burnt down. And through her insurance dealings, she got less rental assistance than her neighbors did because the insurance company said, well, in her case, she was only living in that house 2 months out of the year. So while her neighbors were getting insurance coverage for rental help for 365 days a year, her family was only getting rental assistance for two months out of the year. So it's important to understand what's included, what's not included in your mortgage insurance. And unfortunately, as we get older, this issue becomes more and more important because we don't have time to make up the loss. And frankly, it becomes harder to deal with things like this. Yes, if you're retired, you may have more time to deal with things like this. But it's super stressful in our days of handling stress. We may not handle stress as well today as we did when we were younger. And this is unfortunately very stressful and a very lengthy process. And having heard other people tell their stories, it sounds like a lot of it is negotiations with you and your insurance, your home insurance company, as to what they're going to cover, what they're not going to cover, what type of proof you need to have for what's in your house. That is one of the outcomes of this that a lot of people say, is that they wish they had gone through their home, taken, an afternoon and really video taped everything in their home. Because oftentimes people, they know that they had a lot of things in their home, but they couldn't prove it. And so taking some time in videotaping the contents of your home, taking some time saving the receipts for the items that are in your home so you can prove what the cost was, and I think really important, making sure you understand what the insurance policy is. Now, is that going to help you with your mortgage payment? Unfortunately, it's not, but it's going to be relief if we don't have to pay for rental property and you're still paying your mortgage. So hopefully, if you've got good insurance, your rental costs are covered by your insurance company. I should say I'm not an insurance broker. I don't want to be an insurance broker. It's not my area of expertise, but I want to put this on your radar screen because it's when crises like these, disasters like these happen, that our hearts go out to people that are going through it. But it's also a warning and a reminder for all of us of the importance of taking the time to make sure we've got the insurance, the home insurance, all of our insurance policies that are right for us. Taking time to measure twice and cut once and make good decisions is super important. And it's why I made this video here. 8 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s in order to enjoy the journey more until you get to retire. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.